Okay, so what that's saying is basically create a shelf set when I check something in. If all the tests pass, I want you to go ahead and complete the check-in. If it doesn't, I'm going to have to do some kind of a rollback. And then quickly, I just wanted to see my process here and see if anything jumped out at me. Why the test didn't seem to run. Automated tests. Run tests. Builds build. Sure seems like they should be running. Okay, so the main thing here is we've changed to a gated check-in procedure. So now when I go to check in my solution, I want to do one other thing. Let's go back to Solution Explorer. Let's modify default.htm. So I'm creating version 3. And version 3 changed model logic, and now all my unit tests aren't failing. Okay, so I've changed my version. Let's go ahead and check in. Continue to check in, yes. Okay, it's going to say that this is a part of a gated check-in, and it's just warning me that the changes will be shelved. There's the shelf set name, and then the option of what do you want to do. I want to preserve my pending changes locally, and that just means that if there's a failure, I don't have to go grab the shelf set myself. So I'm going to hit Build Changes here. And we'll go back and we'll watch the build go by again. While this is running, let's peek at this build again. Oh, maybe I just missed it. The test was run, so we're okay here. So I'm looking at the history here, and I've got the initial continuous deployment build I did, and we did have the one test was run there. So I'm reasonably confident that this is going to work out right. And while we're waiting, too, I mentioned that that I created a drop folder in Source Control Explorer. So now we should see, yep, the drops folder was created for me. I've got the ALM Azure CD, the build name here. And then as we do builds, that's going to be stored here right in version control. So anybody with access to the source control can get at those builds. Okay, so running along. Notice that we've got a build failure here. Already knows it's failed. We're going to go ahead and let it finish off. Actually, I probably didn't. If I were to subscribe to notifications, I should have been notified that my build failed. But in any case, I know that we've got a build failure because of test did not pass. And so what I'm going to do now is go into my solution. I'm going to correct my model. Save it. I'm going to try my check-in again. We're still on V3 because that failed. And now this should be pushed out to Azure for me. Oops, here's my notification. I just jumped the gun. So here's my notification saying, hey, your gated check-in was rejected. You may unshelve your changes to correct the problem. If I hit this, since I kept my changes locally, it's just going to say there's nothing to unshelve. But that would be the workflow if you were to not preserve your changes locally. So that's what that looks like. So I'm just going to ignore that. So the build's going, and let me bounce over and talk about one more scenario while we wait for that guy to finish. Let me pull up my go home, builds, that guy. And while that's running, let me just talk about another scenario. First of all, questions. I see there's no Q&A, so go ahead and type them anytime if you do have a question. But I'm just going to keep moving forward. Now let's say we've got a scenario. I mentioned that this website was using Azure's SDK 1.7. And 1.8 just came out, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not even sure if it's been out for a week. And it's going to take some time for those 1.8 bits to be pushed out to the Team Foundation service to be able to support those. So what happens if I want to use a feature within the SDK 1.8? Well, this is where what we need to do is we want to set up a machine to build locally. We still want Team Foundation service to live in the cloud. We want it out there in Azure, but I want to build this locally. Okay, so definitely don't want to go through the time of doing this, but the steps for going through getting a local build machine set up are you get the TFS install CD, and then down there in the middle you got the configure Team Foundation build service. I'm not going to go through every screen, but there's a couple of key screens here. When you select the team project collection, that's where we're putting the URL to Team Foundation service that we created at the beginning of the meeting. I definitely recommend using the test button. The first couple of times I've tried this, I had a couple of things not lined up, so I definitely recommend using that test button down next to the advanced configuration. Notice that advanced configuration is specifically, all the wording hasn't caught up yet here, but it's specifically for the hosted Team Foundation server service. That means Team Foundation service. That's the Azure hosted version. Also run your readiness check. And I had good luck. Just things like opening up the firewall ports and things like that will be warnings for you if you don't have things lined up correctly. And then once the readiness check runs, you're good to go. And then what we will see, actually, I'll go over and do this. What you're going to see now is within your build definition, when we are working with the defaults, this is a drop-down box, and I'm going to have both the hosted build controller and now the local machine that I've registered are going to be part of the drop-downs. Okay, so let's get back, and hopefully our build is done. And it looks like it failed. No, that was probably still there from before. So I see my builds run. My unit test is passed, and if I remembered to do everything, when I go out to my website, I should see V2 change to V3. It did indeed change to V3, and that picture I uploaded earlier should be available. So there's nothing writing over storage when you deploy a new website or anything like that. So I had that in my storage account, and it's still available. Okay, so now let's go in and let's work with the build definition just a little bit more, and I'll let you guys get back to your day. So we'll go back to our build definition. I'm going to edit it. Edit the build definition. I'm going to still stick with the gated check-in. But this time I'm going to change a couple of things. Let's change, first of all, what build controller do I want to use? Interstar happens to be the name of my computer here at Intertech. It's called Interstar. And let's say I don't really want to do the Azure continuous deploy. Just go ahead and do the default template. And when we do that, then I'm going to have to go and modify my items to build. So I'm going to add my solution back in there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to leave things at its default, but you can select your production or debug deploys there. Run tests, all good.